Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunivadi Paschatya Deshatarine De Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, we continue chapter 2, verse 29. Acharyavat pashyati kashchidenam acharyavat padati tathaiva chanyah acharyavat chainam anyas shrunoti shutvapyenam vedanachaiva kaschit. Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Since Gita Upanishad is largely based on the principles of the Upanishads, it is not surprising to also find this passage in the Katha Upanishad. Shravanayapi bahubir na lakya shanvantopi bhavoyam na vityuhu ascharyo vakta kushalosya labdha ascharyossya gnata kushalanushistaha. The fact that atomic soul is within the body of a gigantic animal, in the body of a gigantic banyan tree, and also in the microbic germs, millions and billions of which occupy only an inch of space, is certainly very amazing. When men with poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of the atomic spirit, so atomic spark of spirit, even though it is explained by the greatest authority of knowledge, who imparted lessons even to Brahma, the first living being in the universe. Owing to a gross material conception of things, most men in this age cannot imagine how such a small particle can become so great and so small. So men look at the soul proper as wonderful either by constitution or by description. Illusioned by the material energy, people are so engrossed in subject matters for sense gratification that they have very little time to understand the question of self-understanding. Even though it is a fact that without the self-understanding, all activities result in ultimate defeat in the struggle for existence. Perhaps they have no idea that one must think of the soul and thus make a solution of the material miseries. Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes owing to ignorance, they are misguided by acceptance of the super soul and atomic soul as one. Without distinction of magnitude, it is very difficult to find a man who perfectly understands the position of the super soul, the atomic soul, their respective functions and relationships, and all other major and minor details. And it is still more difficult to find a man who has actually derived full benefit from knowledge of the soul and who is able to describe the position of the soul in different aspects. But if somehow or other one is able to understand the subject matter of the soul, then one's life is successful. The easiest process for understanding the subject matter of self, however, is to accept the statements of the Bhagavad Gita spoken by the greatest authority, Lord Krishna, without being deviated by other theories. But it also requires a great deal of penance and sacrifice, either in this life or in the previous ones, before one is able to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna can, however, be known as such by the causeless mercy of the pure devotee and by no other way. I think anybody has any questions?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Prabhu, what is the meaning of penance and sacrifice? As what we should understand.
Yeah, penance is tapascharya, sacrifice is yagna. Tapascharya is basically austerities that we do in bhakti, like getting up at 4 o'clock, eating only prasadam, ekadashi, no TV, no nonsense. All this is penance, austerity. Penance means austerity. Sacrifice means yagna. Yagna, we are doing Sankirtana Yagna. Of course, in this it might also mean other Vedic yagnas, because to come to the platform of accepting Krishna, we should have engaged in relevant Vedic activities. But of course, then it's also possible that one can come to Krishna consciousness by the mercy of a causeless mercy of a pure devotee. So, because it is said, right, like one who is chanting Hare Krishna means that he's undergone all the austerities and penances that are outlined in the Vedic scripture. So,
Yeah.
and also this is Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. That is what this is.
Yeah.
Actually, most important thing we should meditate on is this last line. Causeless mercy of the pure devotee. How will we understand Krishna? How will we know Krishna? Anybody wants to say some things about this last line? What does this mean? Causeless mercy of the pure devotee means what? How can we know Krishna by the causeless mercy of the pure devotee?
Pure devotees have realized it.
Pure devotees have realized Krishna, okay.
Only pure devotees have realized Krishna and nobody else. So we have to serve pure devotees so that they can reveal what Krishna have revealed to them.
Okay. And how do we serve pure devotees?
By following what are their desires, because their desires are pure in nature. And cooperation. Prabhupada has mentioned that the main thing is that devotees should cooperate with each other. So I think all the devotees should cooperate with senior devotees, senior pure devotees, and that's how we get connected to the parampara and fulfill the mission, I think. Yeah, or at least the desire should be there. If even if we are not able to, we should pray to Krishna that we should come to a position where we can start serving, we will be able to serve pure devotees.
Okay. Anybody else has any thoughts?
First is hearing, right? Hearing from the
Hearing, okay.
And following the instructions.
Okay. Hearing and following instructions, okay. Okay. Yeah, all of them are correct. So, but more important, we should take it slightly one more level, which is the practical outcome of all this Shravanam, service, etc. is that actually spiritual master has to be pleased. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan navati kutopi. So we have to figure out how we can surrender ourselves to the mission of the Guru. Sometimes we wait for somebody to tell us what we need to do in Guru's service. That shows that we are not serious about spiritual life. If you're serious about spiritual life, then we should go and find out what is it that I can do to please the Guru, please my Guru. And then make sure that we align ourselves to be able to do that. That should be the result of all hearing and everything that we are doing in Krishna consciousness. Finally, it is that. Because Krishna can be known only by his causeless mercy, which is given to us by the causeless mercy of pure devotees. Because when pure devotees are pleased with us, then Krishna is pleased. So we should endeavor towards this. How do I please my Guru? Okay. Any thoughts? Okay. Dehi nityam avadyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam shochitum arhasi. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living entity. The Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna established that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna as a Kshatriya should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher Bhishma and Drona will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actually need for it. That need must be justified in terms of sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. This is the most important statement here. In Bhakti also, everything has to be sanctioned by the Lord, and we should not act capriciously. What does capriciously mean? Capriciously means whimsically, in the way we want, however we want. Can somebody give some examples of what this means in Bhakti? How we might be doing things which are not necessarily sanctioned by the Lord and which might be just whimsical.
We might become sahajiyas or belong to apasampradayas by not following what is the right understanding.
Okay.
And the other thing is that twisting the meaning of Bhagavad Gita as per what suits us, instead of trying to understand how Arjuna understood it.
Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts? Anybody?
Not speaking about Krishna and giving motivational speeches, all that using Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
But not sticking to the spirit of Bhagavad Gita, avoiding Krishna completely.
Okay.
To attract masses.
Okay. Anything that we do that falls into this category? Anything in terms of overall as practitioners of Krishna consciousness? Any examples?
Not eating prasadam all the time. Giving reasons for eating non-prasadam.
Okay. Okay.
Or not attending Mangalarti for some reasons.
To give Nelson's side to Guru's instructions and even repeated urges by senior Vaishnavas to join in service mission.
Yeah, I mean, some of these may not be capriciously or whimsically. It's just that maybe, it's
lethargy.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit of ignorance here and there. I mean, this is like doing things which are not sanctioned at all. Just like, doing some random things. Thinking that it is bhakti. What can you think of?
Yeah, I think Manav Seva is Madhav Seva.
Okay. Food for life.
Yeah, food for life.
Classic example of capricious.
Hospitals run by devotees.
Hospitals run by devotees. So some of these, so we have to be like, we have to be slightly careful, right? Like, we shouldn't be blind. Somehow everything seems to be fitting in Krishna Bhakti. Somehow, we force fit things into Krishna Bhakti, which we should not do. Right? We should be very clear. That is why self-motivated interpretation. That is very, very important. Devotees also should understand that, we should not be doing self-motivated interpretation. Which is why when there is a direct sanction from a spiritual master who is a pure devotee, then there is no problem, because then he is taking the ownership of that activity, right? But we shouldn't whimsically engage in things, right? Like one thing which I think is being done heavily in ISKCON today, which is whimsical, is Gita competitions, right? Which actually was not approved by Srila Prabhupada at all. So we, like Janmashtami competitions. Prabhupada said that, Bhagavad Gita, one should not even think that they can know it by their ability. Right? So we should not call it competition. We should say Gita chanting seva or something like that, right? Like make people understand that this is not about my ability. It's about being service minded. It's about doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. When we call it competition, people think, okay, it is my ability, my effort, my result. And they participate to win. Now, where is Seva Bhav in this? So somewhat capricious, right? Book distribution in schools, colleges, and associated Gita competition. Like you buy a book and you can participate in some. So these things are all like little bit stretch in the name for achieving book distribution, or whatever be the goal, because eventually we will never connect with these people who got the books. So what is the use? So some of these things we should be careful. It should be sanctioned by Lord, means for us Guru, Acharyas, Parampara. Shouldn't be however we think. Okay. Actually, this time, place, and circumstance is another very famously misused in ISKCON. So this time, place, and circumstance, actually once Vidwan Gaurang Prabhu gave a lecture on, like, seminar on who can decide this time, place, circumstance. Actually only Acharyas can decide. Like you and me cannot decide time, place, circumstance and change method of preaching. Like we were having some discussion some time back among preachers, like, if suppose we dilute preaching, we might get more people, which is okay. But the ultimate goal is to make them pure. As long as we have that in as part of our goal and we have a plan for it, then it is okay. It is not like it is wrong, because Prabhupada also was not very fixed about the preaching approaches, as long as goal is to become pure devotees. But nowadays what is happening, acquisition is happening, like new people are coming into Krishna consciousness, but nobody is caring for them. Nobody bothers about whether they're doing pure bhakti, impure bhakti, whether they even understand what is right, what is wrong. It's just like, okay, I'm getting more and more people into Krishna consciousness. This is not right. We are responsible for the jiva. When we are given the responsibility of taking care of somebody's bhakti, which means that it is a big responsibility. We can't be irresponsible. So we have to be careful. So some of these things we should avoid. And in our own lives, we should make sure that we don't subscribe to any of these. Some people might be doing, it's okay, but we should not subscribe to this if we think that it is whimsical. So which means that first we should know what is sanction of the Lord, what is not, which means that we should read Prabhupada's books clearly. Okay. IT not sanctioned by Shastra. How is that related, Madhurya Matri, to whatever our discussion? What did we talk about, which is connection to this? I'm not able to relate.
I think the last point, which was there, no, that we should, every action should be sanctioned by Lord, right?
Oh, no. It is sanctioned. Okay. So in this we have to understand. See, IT is basically Shudra Karma. So Shudra Karma is sanctioned by the Lord. But whether we should do it or not is question. That is not sanctioned. Especially for use Stri Dharma, it is not sanctioned. Purusha Dharma, it is provided we are Shudras. But this is also not Shudra Dharma in that sense because there is payment. And payment was not being made to Shudra. So in that sense, yeah, women are not allowed, correct. In that sense, actually, it is also not sanctioned that way because IT is Shudra, but paid Shudras. Paid Shudras is not Varnashram at all. But yeah, these things are there. These things are there. So which is why we come to this verse. Swadharmam apichaveksha navikampitumar-rasi dharmyadischuddha-shreyonya kshatriyasya na vidyate. Considering your specific duty, now we are coming to specific duty. Okay. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. Out of the 4 orders of social administration, the second order for the matter of good administration is called Kshatriya. Kshat means hurt. One who gives protection from harm is called Kshatriya. Trayate, to give protection. The Kshatriyas are trained for killing in the forest. A Kshatriya would go into the forest and challenge a tiger face to face and fight with the tiger with his sword. When the tiger was killed, it would be offered the royal order of cremation. This system has been followed even up to the present day by the Kshatriya kings of Jaipur state. The Kshatriyas are especially trained for challenging and killing because religious violence is sometimes a necessary factor. Therefore, Kshatriyas are never meant for accepting directly the order of sannyas or renunciation. Non-violence in politics may be a diplomacy, but it is never a factor or principle. In the religious law books, it is stated, Aheshu mithonyonyam jigam santo mahikshitaha yuddhamana param shaktya swargam yantaparan mukha yagneshu pashavo brahman hanyante satatam vijay samskrita kila mantraischa tepi swargam avapnuvan. In the battlefield, a king or a kshatriya, while fighting another king envious of him, is eligible for achieving the heavenly planets after death, as the Brahmanas also attain the heavenly planets by sacrificing animals in the sacrificial fire. Therefore, killing on the battlefield on religious principles and killing animals in the sacrificial fire are not at all considered to be acts of violence, because everyone is benefited by the religious principles involved. The animal sacrifice gets a human life immediately without undergoing the gradual evolutionary process from one form to another. The Kshatriyas killed on the battlefield also attain the heavenly planets, as do the Brahmanas who attain them by offering sacrifice. There are 2 kinds of swadharma, specific duties. As long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of his particular body in accordance with religious principles in order to achieve liberation. When one is liberated, one's swadharma, specific duty, becomes spiritual and is not in the material bodily concept. In the bodily conception of life, there are specific duties for the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas respectively, and such duties are unavoidable. Swadharma is ordained by the Lord, and this will be clarified in the 4th chapter. On the bodily plane, Swadharma is called Varnashrama Dharma, or man's stepping stone for spiritual understanding. Human civilization begins from the stage of Varnashrama Dharma, or specific duties in terms of the specific modes of nature of the body obtained. Discharging one specific duty in any field of action in accordance with the orders of higher authorities serves to elevate one to higher status of life. Yes, so here Krishna is talking about Swadharma, and Prabhupada is making very clear that in the conditioned state, one has to follow Varnashrama. Now, when this is also like whimsical, right? Like Varnashrama is not supported today by ISKCON. Why is unclear. For devotees, it is not. I mean, for devotees also it is required, but devotees have to anyway become role models to show people saying what it is to live simply, what it is to live based on, the Varnashrama system. Because otherwise, it is very difficult for them to come to bhakti. Because, see here, it elevates one to higher status of life. What is the higher status of life? Shudra to Vaishya, Vaishya to, so from Tamoguna to Rajoguna to Sattva-guna. That is higher status of life. So when we are engaged in Varnashrama, everybody is engaged in Sattva-guna. Like for example, even a Kshatriya who has to fight, he will fight because his nature is to fight, but he will be guided by a person in Sattva-guna. Right? So he will not act whimsically. Right? So the whole society will be guided by Sattva-guna. Then they will actually achieve the perfection, because they will be told how they can perfect their life. But if there are no Brahmanas, which is what Prabhupada said, that ISKCON has to create Brahmanas. Now Brahmanas not by name only, saying okay, I got Brahmin initiated. No, Brahmanas means that we should be qualified like Brahmanas, which means that we should know Shastra, we should not be depending on somebody else's salary, we should not be like salaried. If we are salaried, then we are not Brahmanas. No, even this is not necessarily followed strictly. So unless we create this kind of a society which is completely based on Varnashrama, it is very difficult, because people will just simply engage in sense gratification. And then we might get people to bhakti and they will end up doing Mishra bhakti, because they want sense gratification and they do bhakti for sense gratification. And that remains on the platform of Mishra bhakti. One cannot come to Shuddha bhakti if they are, they don't understand these things, or if they're not sincere. So Varnashrama is important. It helps even devotees, because we don't have time at all, right? Like we are working in this software and this and that and all that. Where is their time? So difficult. All the time our head is full of, this problem, that code, this testing, that release. I guess most of us here are in software industry, I think, except Rohit Prabhu and I don't know. But generally it's so much of, work consciousness, and it demands, right? So how can we focus on Krishna? Of course, see, I know that some of your situations are very different and special, so it's okay. If you have to earn bread for the house, as they say, then it's okay. We have to engage, right? There is no other way. But it should be only as much as required. That is what Bhagavatam says. Bhagavatam says that our vritti should be such that it should enable us to become attracted to the message of Krishna. If it is not allowing us to develop any kind of attraction towards hearing, chanting, etc., then that kind of a profession should be given up. To find some other profession which will allow us to do this. So this is important. That otherwise, we are engaging. People even get initiated, and then we are just stuck in this whole worldly business and affairs, earning absolutely more than what we need. Absolutely. Whoever is in software is earning more than what is required. In the name of future saving and this and that and all that. And, all those years we just lose. How do we know how many years we are going to be around? And we are thinking, okay, I'm working for retirement. Hope and pray that we remain till then. But, if that is not Krishna's plan, then we just wasted our precious time. So we should earn. If it is required to earn, we should earn, but we should not sell ourselves to the job. Very, very important. And that is why previously I was, pushing, saying that increase the number of hours in bhakti. Because then what will happen is automatically you'll be forced, your consciousness will be forced out of your work. Because in general, we are anyway engaging more than required with work. It is not required to get so absorbed in work consciousness. So when we engage in increasing, our time for bhakti, etc., that consciousness at least reduces. And slowly, steadily, time being contributed also reduces. Otherwise, it's just namesake that we are engaging in bhakti. We don't do any of that, right? Like we said, we don't take it up. No missionary spirit, no trying to make this life perfect. All that will not be there. It's just, okay, somehow I should chant. That itself becomes like a major goal and accomplishment. Oh, I finished 16 rounds today on time. That's like bare minimum entry level criteria for bhakti. We should not get discouraged. We should look for ways and means we should think about all this, right? First, without thinking, it's not practical. First thing, if the thought that comes to our mind is, oh, this is not practical, then we are not going anywhere. We should first know that this is required, and then, it took Prabhupada multiple years to, he was preparing to deliver his, to take up the orders of his guru. He prepared for so many years before he could go to the West, right? So it might take us some time, but we should be engaged in that consciousness, saying that, okay, this doesn't seem to be right. What should I do? How should I get out of this? Right? Thoughts?
Prabhu, changing job is not that easy.
No, that's I already started with the answer. Let's not start with the whole point about practicality, because then the whole philosophy is out of the door. Because practicality will take will take the upper hand, right? Because in our mind it is not practical, then full stop. Which is why I already answered this. I know this is coming, right? So a point I'm making is, first let us understand what is being told, why it is important. Right? Let us take 20 years to implement it. It's fine. But let's not push this aside, saying that it is impractical. So I don't even want to consider this instruction. Then we are hypocrites. Right? If previously if acharyas, devotees, all of them thought like this about practicality as the first consideration, Prabhupada would never have gone to the West. He would never got Krishna consciousness. Think from Prabhupada's perspective, how practical it was for him to go to US at the age of 70, with 40 rupees in his hand?
Not at all practical.
So if he had thought saying that, oh Baba, ye practical nahi hai. Okay, I am comfortable in, Vrindavan, Radha Damodar Mandir. What heart of the whole universe? Why should I bother? That is why Vyavasayatmika Buddhi is important, because our Buddhi will then be put to rest, or it will take a side track. Vyavasayatmika Buddhi means Guru's Buddhi. Whatever Guru is saying, I will do. I will not use my Buddhi at all. So if surrender means practicality, then where is surrender? Then it is planned execution. That's not surrender. Surrender means that for me it maybe just looks impossible, but higher authorities are saying, so I will accept. This is surrender. If surrender means I do all the calculative arrangement, everything, etc., then what is surrender there? So please don't bring practicality. See, practicality is the last thing to be considered in Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, it has become the first thing. And it just supersedes all other rules and regulations and instructions and everything. Practicality, then, time, place, circumstance. Killing everything. So, please think about this.
Prabhuji, it means that, for example, just to think, as the point mentioned, that attachment is too strong in that case. Since childhood we have been taught to be attached to material stuff, etc. So that detachment, or maybe replace it with spiritual attraction to Krishna. If that takes place, that is, I think, if that becomes strong, then automatically, I think everything is.
Yeah, which is true. Which is true, but we should coin another similar, term like chicken and egg, which we don't like to use. But how do we develop attraction to Krishna? When we spend time for Krishna. How do we spend time for Krishna?
By doing more chanting.
But how do we do more chanting? If we are stuck with our work and work consciousness, etc., then attraction to Krishna will not develop. Right? So, see, we have to start somewhere, which is why I mean, in the name of this practicality, which is why I first recommended saying that we should do increase number of rounds, increase hours of sadhana. Right? Then hopefully we will get some breakthrough, right, somewhere. Right? But if you are not doing any of those, then how do we get out of this? How do we get out of this cycle? Stuck. So we should first keep an open mind about this topic, right? About this Swadharma and how we are stuck badly in city life and in corporate world, beyond what is required. Again, let's be very clear that nobody is talking about giving up work or anything and say from tomorrow भगवान के ऊपर भरोसा करके life lead करेंगे. No, we have to do our work. We are not that elevated. We should do our work, but we should not sell ourselves to the work. We should have our own life, which is Krishna conscious life, and we should have time for it. This is absolutely important if we are serious about bhakti. And it happens. I mean, why am I saying with so much conviction? Because I've seen it work. I've seen it work. Criteria is to increase amount of time for Krishna. That has to be the main focus. Then everything else will fall in place. So it requires first of all, it requires conviction that, okay, Prabhupada is saying something, I should think about it. Second, favorable meditation on this problem statement. Then talk to other devotees and slowly, steadily figure a way. But we are so stuck up with practicality, which is problem everybody faces, right? But we can't be. Not everything is about practicality. It's about surrender, actually, more than practicality. See, surrender is itself impractical. Krishna says surrender everything, give up every kind of dharma, he's saying. How impractical it is. We should tell Krishna. It's not impractical. It's not practical. But Krishna is saying that you should do it. That means we should understand that we should not be thinking about practicality while we should be doing. That is why Krishna is balancing his instructions, right? Do your duty without attachment. Don't do more than what is required. Then you will be able to do the other things that I am saying. But if you are not, if you are deep diving and getting so sucked into work, and obviously then you will be you will have a hum, and you will have a sense of achievement and pleasure, and the material is stuck, right? Then how can you progress towards Krishna? So Krishna has made it very clear. Just work without expecting results, without attachment. Just work as a matter of duty. Why? Because I have to keep body and soul together. So I need some money to live in this material world. I need some, and that's it. Nothing more. So please meditate on this. It's not an easy verse.